The elevator ride to the executive lounge felt too bright, too silent, too heavy. Security walked ahead and behind them, their radios crackling softly, their polished shoes echoing through the private corridor. Elena held Liam and Leah close on either side, her palms damp where their small fingers clung to hers. She kept her eyes forward, anywhere but on the man whose footsteps she could feel more than hear. The door to the private lounge slid open with a muted hiss. Glass walls framed the city skyline, muted by distance, the hum of traffic rising like a steady, indifferent whisper. The room was spacious, elegant, untouched by the chaos outside. Yet the air inside it was thick and tight, too small to contain what sat inside all four of them. Damien stepped in last. The door closed behind him, and for a moment he didn't move. His jaw flexed, his knuckles whitened around the phone he forgot he was still holding. His entire presence, usually cool, impenetrable, vibrated with a barely controlled storm. Elena positioned herself slightly in front of the twins. Not obviously, not dramatically, but instinctively. Her shoulders were rigid, her breathing shallow, her eyes sharp and alert like someone cornered and preparing to fight for what mattered most. Liam pressed into her side. Leah clung to the hem of her blouse. They didn't understand the tension, but children always sensed danger in the quiet. A member of security cleared his throat gently. "Sir, if you want, we can bring in a medical professional to run a DNA confirmation. It can be done immediately in the building." Damien didn't answer at first. He stared at Liam and Leah, two small faces that mirrored pieces of him he had never given anyone. Two faces he had only seen for the first time minutes ago but couldn't pull his gaze away from. The security guard tried again. "Should I call them, sir?" Something snapped. Not loudly, not visibly, but inside him. Damien's voice came low, controlled, but edged with something dangerous. "No." The guard blinked. "Sir." Damien turned his full attention on the man, his eyes sharp as glass. "Not like this. Not in front of them." The guard nodded quickly and stepped out. The door clicked shut, leaving the four of them alone. Silence spread across the room, thick and electric. Damien dragged a hand over his face as if grounding himself, inhaled slowly, exhaled even slower. He was trying desperately to keep himself from exploding. Elena kept her chin up even though her hands trembled around the twins. Her voice stayed trapped in her throat. Words felt too dangerous to release. Damien finally looked at her. Really looked. His eyes were dark, full of shock, betrayal, confusion, and underneath all of it, a longing he didn't understand, a fear he didn't want to name. "Elena," he started, but his voice cracked before he caught it. He swallowed hard, straightened his shoulders, and tried again, quieter this time, almost breaking through the calm he was trying to maintain. "What?" His breath shook. "What did you do?" The question hung between them, sharp enough to cut. The twins pressed closer to her. Elena's lips parted, but no sound came. The room seemed to hold its breath with them. Tension hung like smoke, thick, choking, impossible to escape, smothering the space where truth was about to ignite. Damien didn't move, didn't blink. His eyes stayed fixed on Elena, searching her face as though the truth might be written somewhere between the lines of fear and defiance she tried desperately to hide. But then something shifted. Not in her, in him. A flicker, a memory, triggered by nothing more than the faint tremble in her fingers. The way she shielded Liam and Leah with her body, the quiet strength in the set of her jaw. It hit him like a whisper from another life. A dimly lit elevator years ago. She had stepped in, clutching her stack of files, head bowed, never expecting to stand beside the CEO himself. He'd barely glanced at her then, until he noticed her hand shaking. She'd whispered, "First week." With an embarrassed laugh, he'd felt an unfamiliar tug in his chest. The room blurred back into focus. Elena stood in front of him now, exactly how she had then, quiet, terrified, strong. That unwelcome tug returned, harder this time. He inhaled sharply. A boardroom late at night. He'd been unraveling under pressure, fists tight against a looming deal falling apart. Everyone else had left. Except her. Elena had silently placed a cup of tea beside him. No speech. No advice. Just presence. He hadn't thanked her, but her calm had steadied him more than he ever admitted. Back in the present, Damien's gaze drifted to the twins again. Liam's chin the same stubborn angle as his. Leah's eyes, gentle but watchful, just like hers. His pulse thudded. That night, the one he never let himself think about. He'd stood by the window in his penthouse, city lights scattered like diamonds beneath his feet, walls built high inside him. She'd stood behind him, voice soft. "You don't always have to be made of stone, Damien." He'd stiffened, then almost let himself lean back into her presence. But fear had snapped him shut, and he'd walked away, left her standing there, left the possibility of something real fading between them. Her breathing in the present pulled him out of the memory. Fast, unsteady. She looked like someone bracing for a blow she'd been hit with too many times before. Damien's throat tightened. A hallway argument. Not shouting, just him shutting down, her trying to reach him. He remembered the look in her eyes when he pulled away. That look mirrored the one she wore now. He swallowed hard, every muscle in his body locked with unspoken regret he refused to name. "Damien," she whispered, her voice catching. The same soft tone she used years ago when she tried to break through his walls. The sound of his name from her lips detonated the next wave of memory. Her laugh during a late-night project. They'd gotten so close and were seeing each other secretly as per her request, so that people won't treat her differently. He'd wanted nothing more than to claim her publicly, but he respected her wishes. The moment he felt something he wasn't allowed to feel. The moment he realized she was the only person who ever made him breathe differently. He blinked, dragging himself forcefully back to the present. The glass walls, the quiet city hum, the twins' small breaths filling the room. But the memories kept pulsing beneath his skin, refusing to fade. Damien forced his jaw to tighten, forced his composure to return. Yet something inside him had cracked. Again. Just like it had all those years ago when Elena first walked into his world and quietly, slowly, without meaning to, became the exception to every rule he lived by. Elena's breath trembled as she steadied herself, but Damien's eyes, dark, searching, wounded, pinned her in place. The memories swirling in his expression made it impossible to hide behind silence any longer. He took a step toward her, slow and controlled but laced with something dangerous. "Elena, tell me why you left." His voice cracked on the last word. Her throat tightened. For a moment, she stared at the glass wall instead of him, watching the city blur into streaks of light. She wished the answer were simple. She wished it were something she could say quickly, rip off like a bandage, and be done with. But nothing about what happened had ever been simple. Liam tugged her sleeve. Leah pressed her cheek to Elena's hip. Their tiny warmth reminded her why she'd chosen the path she had, why she'd endured everything alone. She looked back at Damien. "You want the truth?" she whispered. He exhaled slowly, as if bracing himself. "Yes, all of it." Elena nodded once. "It wasn't because of you," she said softly. "Not entirely. It was everything around you." His brows tightened, confusion flickering. She continued before he could interrupt. "I didn't leave because I stopped loving you. I left because I was afraid I wouldn't survive the people in your world." The words hit him harder than she expected. His shoulders stiffened. His breathing changed. "Who?" His voice dropped, almost growling. "What people?" Elena swallowed, memories gathering like storm clouds behind her eyes. "It started with your board," she whispered. "Specifically, your uncle, and 2 senior partners who didn't want you distracted by me." Damien's jaw locked. "What did they do?" She let out a breath she'd been holding for years. "It was after that night in your penthouse, the night you almost let me in, and then shut me out again. You became distant, not cruel, just unreachable." Her voice softened with old sadness. "I thought you were overworked. I didn't know you were fighting internal battles you couldn't talk about." He flinched because she was right. "One evening," she continued, Your uncle called me into a private meeting. He didn't even pretend to be polite. He said if I cared about my future, I would walk away. Walk away from what? Damien demanded. From you. Her voice cracked. From the company. From the entire empire you were building. Damien's nostrils flared with fury. He threatened you. You don't understand how far he went, she said, tears brimming. He told me that being seen with you was already a problem. That the board would never allow you to tie yourself to someone like me. That if anything serious happened between us, the media would tear me apart, drag my past through headlines, ruin any career I had. All because he thought I wasn't good enough for you. That ill distract you. Damien stepped closer, breath uneven. Elena, she shook her head. I wasn't finished. He froze. He said if I stayed near you, I'd eventually be used against you by competitors, by the press. He told me women like me get chewed up in your world, and I was already showing signs of pregnancy. Damien's eyes widened, horror slamming into him. He knew, he whispered. He suspected, as he probably had me watched all the time, Elena replied. And he told me very clearly that if I didn't disappear, he would make sure the baby was seen as leverage. A scandal waiting to happen. Something you would be forced to disown publicly. Damien staggered back a step, as if the air had been punched from his lungs. And you believed him? He said, disbelief trembling through every word. She nodded, the weight of it crushing her all over again. I believed him because at that time you were so far away from me. You were cold, exhausted, fighting battles you never explained. You barely looked at me for weeks. She lifted her chin, tears finally spilling. I thought if I told you I was pregnant, you'd think I was clinging to you, that I was trapping you, and your uncle would make it worse. He said he would. Damien swallowed, his voice raw. So you left. I didn't leave to hurt you, she whispered. I left because I didn't think you could, or would, protect us. Not then. Not in the state you were in. Not with the people around you. Her breath shuddered. I left because staying felt like choosing a life where Liam and Leah would grow up as someone's bargaining chip. And I couldn't do that to them. Damien pressed a hand to his mouth, eyes burning. Elena! His voice broke entirely. I would have protected you. I would have. No, she cut softly. You would have tried. But you were drowning alone. And I was too afraid to drown with you. Silence. Heavy, agonizing silence. Damien's eyes glistened. Not with tears, but with a grief so deep it seemed to hollow the space around him. He finally whispered the truth he had never admitted to anyone. I spent years looking for you. Her breath hitched. I thought you left because you didn't care, he said, voice shaking. I never imagined you left because you were scared. Elena wiped her cheek. I was, and I still am. He then said, they're almost for right. She nodded. I can't believe I've missed almost 4 years of their life. He covered his face in pain. But then Liam yawned softly, leaning into Damien's leg like he had always belonged there. Leah reached out and grabbed 2 of Damien's fingers in her tiny hand. He stared down at her, stunned, breathless. Elena watched, heart breaking all over again. Not from pain, but from the truth she had fought too long to avoid. Her children already knew him. Her heart already remembered him. And Damien had never stopped wanting the family he never knew he almost had. The next days moved like shifting weather. Tense mornings, quiet afternoons, and nights that felt too full of unspoken things. Every time Damien crossed paths with Elena, the air tightened, as if the building itself held its breath. Their conversations didn't explode. They unfolded slow, heavy, jagged at the edges. It began in the same private executive lounge where everything had cracked open. Damien stood near the glass wall, his reflection merging with the skyline. You kept my children from me, he said finally, voice low, trembling with restraint. And you didn't even give me a chance. Elena didn't flinch, but her fingers tightened around Liam and Leah's hands. You built walls so high I was suffocating, she replied softly, but there was steel beneath it. I didn't leave because I wanted to. I left because staying was destroying me. Silence flooded the room. Not empty, pressured. Old hurt pulsed in the space between them. Damien opened his mouth, closed it, tried again. I would have stepped up. You know I would have. His voice cracked once, barely audible. I would have changed everything. She looked away, blinking hard, breath uneven. You say that now. I mean it, he whispered. Back then, Elena said, voice trembling despite her composure. You were fighting battles you never let me into. You shut me out, Damien. Completely. You made me feel like I was temporary. Replaceable. The words struck him like a physical hit. His jaw flexed. You weren't. You acted like I was. Another silence, long and weighted. During all of this, Liam and Leah hovered close to her legs, their wide eyes flicking between the two adults. They didn't understand the words, but they felt everything. The tension, the fear, the uneven breaths. Leah pressed her cheek to Elena's hip, seeking comfort. Liam reached for her hand again, and Damien saw it. His children clung to her, instinctively, automatically, as if afraid she might be taken from them. The sight carved him open. He swallowed, his voice dropping. They're mine, Elena, and they don't know me. Do you have any idea what that feels like? She inhaled sharply, blinking as if the question wounded her too. Do you have any idea what it felt like to carry them alone? To prepare for 2 infants on a salary that could barely hold one? To wake up terrified that someone from your world would show up and take them from me? He stared at her, stunned. Why didn't you tell me? Because trauma, she whispered, each word heavy, doesn't spill out cleanly. And because every time I got close to telling you something real, you pushed me away. Damien's breath stuttered. He remembered, too well, the nights he shut down. The nights he drowned himself in work instead of letting her in. The nights he thought he was protecting her by keeping her away from his chaos, never realizing he was erasing himself from her life. He took one slow step closer. She didn't move, didn't back away, but her shoulders tightened, ready for impact. Elena, he said quietly, I can't change the past, but I'm here now. For them. For the truth. For whatever this is between us. Her eyes flickered with something fragile. Fear, longing, disbelief. It's not that simple. I know, he said. That's why I'm not walking away. For the first time, her expression softened. Barely, like a crack in armor. But cracks were where the light got in. And the days continued. Each one bringing new questions, new silences, new truths. Nothing was resolved, nothing forgiven. But something had shifted. Something alive. Something dangerous. Something they could no longer run from. Time didn't heal anything, not yet. But it stretched enough to force them into a new rhythm. Weeks passed. Careful weeks. Fragile weeks. Weeks where co-parenting was a trembling bridge they tried to cross without looking down. They didn't rush anything. They couldn't. The damage ran too deep, and the feelings ran even deeper. Elena returned to her routine as if stitching her life back together with trembling fingers. Work, school drop-offs, late-night grading, early morning coffee. Liam and Leah in each arm. Her world didn't pause. She didn't let it. She balanced her job and single motherhood with a quiet, admirable strength that people around her respected deeply. At work, colleagues whispered about her grit. She never complains. She's carrying everything alone. She's incredible. People offered her admiration, sometimes interest, but she brushed off every romantic attempt gently. Her heart wasn't open. It wasn't healed. And every night, when she tucked the twins in and kissed their foreheads, she saw Damien in their eyes, their expressions, their temper. Liam's guarded silence. Leah's fierce little determination. Both his. And that made everything harder. Damien threw himself into work the way drowning men throw themselves at air. Desperately, without strategy, just trying to stay afloat. But even his board noticed the shift. You're distracted. You're slipping. Your focus is scattered. He dismissed them, but he knew they were right. His assistant caught him more than once staring at a paused photo from a news clip, Elena kneeling to comfort Liam and Leah in the mall, strangers filming, everything beginning to unravel. He never said a word about it. But quietly, very quietly, he began preparing himself. Small gifts arrived for the twins. Nothing flashy. Nothing loud. Puzzle kits. Soft blankets. A science toy Leah had once admired. A storybook Liam once mentioned. Gifts that showed he was paying attention. Then, almost secretly, Damien started attending evening parenting classes. He slipped into the back seats, cap pulled low, absorbing everything: how to talk to children, how to manage twin dynamics, how to build trust when you're late to the story. He told no one. Not his family, not his friends, not the board. He wasn't doing this for image. He was doing it to earn a place in Liam and Leah's lives. Yet the loneliness hit him hardest at night. He missed Elena more than he allowed himself to admit. He missed the sound of her voice. He missed the way she steadied him. He missed what they almost had. And on the other side of the city, Elena found herself dreaming about him for the first time in years, and waking up angry at herself for it. Every time they met for the twins' sake, their interactions were tight, careful, but charged. A glance held too long. A silence too loaded. A tension that pulled at both of them like gravity. They were changing, slowly, painfully, becoming different people than they were before. It happened on a Tuesday. A regular checkup for Liam and Leah at a pediatric clinic in the city. Damien insisted on coming. The twins brightened when he walked in. Still shy, but eager, and Elena didn't stop them. They sat together in the waiting area. Not close, but not far. The kind of distance that said, "We're trying." Then a sharp voice called out, "Damien Hale?" They both turned. A woman holding her phone up like a weapon approached them. Fake smile plastered on her face. An influencer, one of the ones who had posted the mall incident. "Oh my God, it is you too," she chirped. "The mystery mother of the Billionaire's twins. How convenient, right? Hiding the children until the perfect moment." Elena froze. Liam and Leah pressed against her knees. The woman continued sweetly, viciously, "I mean, it's a classic story. Trap the wealthy man. Reveal the kids later. Secure the bag." She didn't finish. Damien stepped in front of Elena so fast the woman stumbled back. His voice dropped to something lethal. "Watch how you speak to the mother of my children." The room went still. Phones rose. Cameras flashed. People gasped. Elena stared at him, stunned. He didn't move. Didn't blink. Didn't care who was recording. He was shielding her without hesitation. Without calculation. Without shame. The influencer faltered and backed away. Damien remained in front of Elena until she breathed again. By that evening, the internet was on fire. #Damien protects her. #the twins. #unexpected family. For the first time, the public wasn't tearing her apart. They were rooting for them. And maybe, for the first time in years, Elena didn't feel like she was standing alone. Days slipped into each other gently, quietly. Nothing rushed. Nothing forced. It began with small moments Damien didn't even realize were stitching him into Liam and Leah's lives. He started sitting with them after school, helping Liam sound out difficult words, listening as Leah excitedly explained how her science project would change the world. He learned they liked their sandwiches cut diagonally, not straight. That Liam hated loud hand dryers. That Leah slept with her socks on because it makes my dreams warmer. He noticed the little things no one else had ever told him. The way Liam frowned in concentration exactly the way he did during board meetings. The way Leah tapped her foot 3 times before speaking, just like he unconsciously did before major presentations. He watched them move and laughed under his breath. There he was, written into them in ways he never expected. Elena watched from doorways, from kitchen counters, from quiet corners. She watched the way Damien kneeled to their level, listened with the intensity he once reserved only for high-stakes negotiations. She watched him soften in places she'd never seen soften before. And every time her eyes met his, something warm and dangerous tugged inside her chest. Late at night, too late for pretense, conversations began. Soft, careful, often about the twins, sometimes about life, rarely about the past. They would sit at opposite ends of her couch or his office lounge, exchanging words and tones neither had used with anyone else in years. One night, Leah said something unintentionally hilarious. They both burst into laughter at the same time, real laughter, free, unarmored. Then they froze, staring at each other, startled by how easy the warmth felt. They tried to fight the pull. They both did. But every day the pull won a little more ground. It happened after one long afternoon of silence, when the twins had fallen asleep on the living room rug. Damien stood there, hands in pockets, eyes fixed on the children he once never knew existed. Something in him cracked open. "Elena," he said, voice low, steadying itself. "I wasn't someone you could rely on back then. I know that. I didn't know how to show what I felt. I didn't know how to love you properly. I thought distance made me strong. But all it did was break everything." Elena didn't melt. She didn't rush into his arms. She stood with the same dignity she had carried through every storm of her life. "I'm not blameless," she whispered. "Leaving the way I did, without a word, it wasn't fair. But I was terrified, Damien. I was alone. I was threatened. And I didn't trust you to choose me when things got ugly." Her voice wavered, but she didn't. "If we try anything again, anything at all, it won't be on fear. Or silence. Or power. We do it with honesty." Damien nodded, slow, humbled. "Then I'll earn it. Whatever it takes." Communication, real communication, finally began between them. For the first time, they weren't two wounded people screaming through walls. They were adults, broken in places but willing to rebuild. The shift between them became a slow burn, one neither of them could stop even when they tried. Days passed. Weeks. Accidental touches lingered longer than they should. Conversations grew deeper. Damien showed up for Liam and Leah. Not in grand, flashy ways, but steady ones. Every school event. Every call. Every moment they needed him. And Elena found herself trusting him again without realizing it. One night, Leah developed a fever. Elena panicked quietly the way single mothers do, efficient but trembling. Damien arrived in under 10 minutes. He stayed. Through the calls, the cool cloths, the thermometer checks. Liam fell asleep on his lap. Leah eventually curled into his chest. And when exhaustion finally hit, Elena slumped onto the couch beside him. They were too tired to maintain distance. The twins slept between them, small and warm, their breath slow and even. Sometime around dawn, Damien's head rested back against the cushions. Elena's shoulder brushed his. They didn't move away. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't dramatic. It was tender, domestic, natural. A family without meaning to be. And both of them felt it like a quiet earthquake under their ribs. The morning after the long night on the couch shifted something in the air. Quietly, gently, but unmistakably. Life didn't suddenly become perfect. There were still long days, difficult conversations, and moments when the past tried to drag its shadows back into the room. But something had changed. The walls between them were no longer towering. They were thinning, softening, becoming doors instead of barriers. Weeks passed, full of small, steady steps. Damien grew more present, more grounded, more human. Elena found herself smiling without hesitation, laughing without fear, breathing without the knot of old wounds tightening in her chest. Liam and Leah sensed the shift too. They danced around both of them with ease, confident in the safety they no longer questioned. One evening, after the twins had run ahead into the park playground, Damien and Elena stood together under soft amber streetlights. The city hummed around them, peaceful, not overwhelming. The children's laughter floated through the air, warm and bright. Damien cleared his throat, but his voice still came out low and vulnerable. "Elena," he murmured, "I know I can't undo the man I was. I can't rewrite the years you spent alone. But I'm not him anymore, and I don't want to move forward without trying, really trying, with you. Not as the man I used to be, but as the man I've finally become." Elena turned to him slowly, the breeze lifting a strand of her hair. Her eyes were soft, but not unsure, not afraid. "I never stopped loving you," she said quietly. "Not once. I just stopped believing you wanted me, or that you knew how to love me back." Her breath trembled when she added, "But I see you now, the way you show up, the way you've grown, the way you love our children, and I can finally believe you won't let me carry the weight alone." He stepped closer, careful, reverent. "Elena, can I have a chance to be your home? For real this time?" She didn't answer with words. Liam and Leah came running toward them at that exact moment. Tiny shoes pattering against the pavement, laughter bubbling out of their chests. Without thinking, Elena reached for them and Damien did too. The twins barreled into both of their arms, wrapping small hands around their waists, their necks, their clothes. They held their children together, one in each arm, bodies touching, forming a shape that felt like a circle closing in the most beautiful way. Damien pressed a soft kiss to Leah's forehead, then to Liam's. And when he lifted his gaze, his eyes met Elena's. She leaned in without hesitation, her forehead resting gently against his. Quiet, tender moment. A promise without needing to speak it. Later that night, they walked the twins home as a unit, fingers brushing, shoulders touching. Damien carried Leah while Elena held Liam's hand. The streetlights cast a warm glow around them, painting everything in amber. At the doorway to her apartment, no, their apartment now in all but name, Damien whispered, "We'll do it right this time. All of it." Elena nodded, her voice soft but certain. "We already are." Then they kissed passionately, softly savoring that moment. And standing there, under the soft glow of their new beginning, Elena and Damien finally stepped into theirs. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Your thoughts mean a lot to me. And trust me, the next story will be even better. You won't want to miss it. Turn on the notification bell so you're the first to know.